¿Qué pasa, vaqueros? And welcome to the channel. Welcome to another shotgun video for Warzone. Today is going to be all about the VLK Rogue in Warzone, which I consider, and a lot of people consider, to be one of the best shotguns currently in the Warzone on Rebirth Island and probably Caldera. Because of its crazy damage and its crazy fire rate, this gun is a menace to behold. So without further ado, let's just hop into why this gun is so great and go over the class. Now, there's a few things that really make this gun shine. With the addition of 300 health, now a lot of the semi-autos aren't as strong. There's still some good ones, obviously. The Origin's really good, the Jack's really good, but the pump actions didn't have their damage change, right? And I consider this sort of a pump action, even though it's not really maybe classified as such in real life, but I don't know, I still consider it that because it has a really high damage and it has some decent range. So what makes this gun so special is that it has that really insane damage up close, especially with Dragon's Breath. So you're capable of doing at least 215 to 230 points of damage in that max damage range, which is going to be a 2-shot kill at 300 health. And yes, even with EOD on, you can still 2-tap people at longer ranges. It's going to be a little bit more inconsistent. When I was testing it, it seemed like occasionally it would 2-shot and then sometimes it wouldn't. I have no idea why, but it does work. It can work. Just know that if you're facing people with EOD, the Dragon's Breath burn is going to be a little inconsistent at times, so just keep that in mind. So we know that the damage is a really strong selling point for this gun already, but the next big one is the rate of fire. Now, for comparison's sake, the Model 680 can fire at around 71 rounds per minute, and the VLK Rogue can fire at about 136, so almost double the fire rate, but it has basically identical damage in its first two damage ranges like the Model 680 does. The only difference between these pump actions and the VLK Rogue is that the pump actions tend to carry damage out to further ranges, like once you hit the third and fourth damage ranges, the other pump actions can still perform decently compared to the VLK Rogue, but the VLK Rogue, once you get past that second range, it is awful. Do not use it. It is an absolute pea shooter, but up close in its first two ranges, it is unstoppable. It is amazing to use, and it's just gotten better with this 300 health update. If you want to know the time to kill values, for the 680, it's sitting at around 845 milliseconds for 2 shots. That's really not good. That's actually pretty slow, but of course, with these type of shotguns, you don't want to be out in a straight gunfight with people. You want to be in and out of cover. But the VLK Rogue kind of toys with that idea, and sometimes you can just straight up rush people, like literally bum rush people with the VLK Rogue and be just fine because of its fire rate. The 2-shot kill time to kill for the VLK Rogue is at 441 milliseconds. That is insanely fast and head and shoulders above a lot of the other pump actions and also a lot of the SMGs. This is really, really fast, and I don't think a lot of people really understand how strong this thing can be. Now, it is a theoretical time to kill 441 milliseconds because the burn sometimes might take a little bit longer, so you're looking at maybe another 100 milliseconds or something like that, but on paper, that's what it's going to be about. So that's really, really strong. I cannot understate how strong this gun can be. Now let's talk ranges, because this is another important part for these shotguns. Now, the VLK Rogue on its own is really nothing to write home about, but once you put on Dragon's Breath and you put on all the attachments for range, you can 2-shot. Your max 2-shot range is going to be about 8.9 meters. That's with the Marauder suppressor and the Tsar barrel. Now, I personally use the Warlord barrel because even though you don't get as much range as the Tsar barrel, your 2-shot goes to about 8.4 meters, you only lose about 0.5 of a meter and you get no penalty to your movement speed. To me, this is a much better way to go than using the Tsar because yes, the Tsar is nice, you get more range, a tighter pellet spread, but I like to have my mobility somewhat, and when I put on that big barrel, it just slows me down a little too much, and I'd rather be able to close that gap a little bit better than have to deal with, I don't know, losing 0.5 of range. It's really not that bad, and you shouldn't be pushing this thing at 8 meters anyway. It's just nice to have. For fun, another little comparison, the Model 680 does dominate in this department. It can 2-shot with Dragon's Breath and all of its attachments at around 11 meters, which is probably one of the largest in the shotgun class. That's really, really far. VLK Rogue isn't really known for its range, but the fact that it can still 2-shot at about that 8-meter mark is nothing to scoff at. And again, with that fire rate and that damage, this thing is an absolute monster to behold, especially on Rebirth Island. It is crazy. Even with trios and quads, this shotgun, you can make it work because it has 8 rounds, and all you need is really 2 to 3 shots. So 2 to 3 people, sometimes you can kill 3 people. You really can. You'd be surprised how good it can be. And honestly, this has just been such a fun gun to use. But now let's go into my preferred class setup that I recommend everyone to use for this gun. In my opinion, it's probably the best one to use. First off, you want to use the Marauder Suppressor. That's probably the best attachment overall. You get about a 20% range increase. You do lose a little bit of movement speed, but we're going to offset that with the no stock attachment. The Marauder, though, it gives you the best range boost in class out of all the attachments, even over the other barrels. Now for the barrel option, go for the Warlord 16-inch barrel because, again, like I said, you get really close to that same range as the Tsar barrel, but you don't lose any movement speed or aim down sight speed. Well, you don't lose as much aim down sight speed, so it's my preferred barrel all the time. Then we have, of course, the 8-round Dragon's Breath attachment, and then we have the 5 milliwatt laser. This is going to help get your sprint to fire speed on par with a lot of the SMGs, if not better than some of them, and it's going to really tighten your hip fire spread to make this thing a lot more consistent when you're hip firing and getting shots around those corners and all that. And now what I want to do is kind of go over my thoughts on the gun, how it stands, is it overpowered, all that good stuff. Whenever I knew 300 health was coming, I knew that these pump actions were going to be a lot better, or at least more usable, maybe not amazing. But the VLK Rogue, I was honestly surprised in practice how much better it performed than I thought it would. It actually has a place in the close range meta, and I know a lot of big YouTubers aren't going to cover it because they don't tend to like covering shotguns. That's why I'm here. But this really is a contender for, I think, one of the best guns to use in CQB fights. I mean, you can just decimate people. If you're in that max damage range, you will delete them instantly. It's just enormously strong, and I cannot recommend it enough. It's easily one of the best shotguns in Warzone. I cannot stress that enough. Again, one of the only issues you'll run into is if you have people with EOD, that tends to make your gun a little bit more inconsistent, but it's still going to be about a 2 to 3 in most cases if you're playing your cards right. Just make sure to really stay in that 8-meter range. You never want to push past that. And do I think this gun is overpowered? Well, it's dangerously close to it. It's teetering this fine line between being overpowered and being just right, because right now it doesn't have that much range, but it's got a ton of damage, but it is killing things incredibly fast, and a lot of people, I think they're going to start to catch on to it, and they're going to start to see the power of this thing. And to be honest with you guys, this is probably the most balanced shotgun meta that we've had in a while. I mean, this particular shotgun, it can compete with SMGs. Like a lot of other shotguns, they kind of can, right? It's like kind of a toss-up. Sometimes you might lose, sometimes you might win. It's not always going to be the shotgun, but in this one, I feel like it's a pretty confident chance that, I don't know, 80% of your engagements up close, you're going to win with this shotgun. It's really incredibly strong, but that range just isn't that far, so you have to play to its strength, and you have to be really closing that gap. Like I said, it's a fine line. I could see a lot of people saying that this is overpowered, but a lot of those same people don't really know much about shotguns and how they function and their ranges and damage like that, so it is what it is. But I think that this gun, it's in a pretty good spot. I think it's definitely one of the most meta shotguns we've had, but not in a broken sense. I just think that it can compete with a lot of SMGs, and that people are going to start catching on to it for good reason, because my god, it's a beast. So with that being said, guys, I want to end the video here. Now, I did it a little bit different this video. If you noticed, I feel like I'm talking a lot faster, but also my intro was a little bit more concise. I didn't really draw it out. I just kind of went into the video. So hopefully that makes people stick around a little bit more and want to watch the video till the end. But then again, I start blabbing off at some point in the video, so who knows. But with all that being said, guys, I want to know down below in the comments, what are your thoughts on the VLK Rogue? Do you agree with me in thinking that this gun is an absolute menace and probably the best shotgun we have in Warzone now? Let me know in the comments down below. And with all that being said, I will see you guys in the next video. Got movement. Under fire. Look at this fucking faggot with the fuck.